Hello everyone, my name is Ike, I'm with Eddie Helps, and today what we're going to be going over is how to replace your shower head. I would expect that this job will probably only take you about 20 minutes, but if you have some sort of experience, you're handy, this job quite possibly could take you only about 5 minutes. First, we're going to start with setup. Get yourself some sort of blanket or towel, and all you're going to do with this is place it where your feet go. It's gonna act as a damper if you drop something. It will protect the finish on your tub. Trust me guys, I've been doing this for a long time. Even I drop things. Some of us have butter fingers. You wanna make sure that you protect the surface of your tub. To be honest, you can get away with only using some sort of adjustable wrench. Preferably you want smooth jaws on there because it'll keep you from marring the finish. If you have a chrome or a brushed nickel, something like that, you wanna make sure that you preserve that finish. So if you get something with teeth, it will mar it and you will see it. Another option is gonna be what we have here. It's a tongue and groove plier. Probably not the approved tool to use because as you can see, it has teeth. The very last thing you're gonna need is some Teflon tape. Now preferably it's gonna be a thinner type of Teflon tape because it's just easier to work with when you're doing this type of job. This shower head, the one that's existing here is just plastic thread. I know that with my grip strength, I can just take this and turn this loose. Now, let's say it wasn't plastic. Let's say it was brass and it was stuck on there. This is probably not gonna do the trick for you, especially with the type of grooves that this has. That's when that other wrench comes into play. So tongue and groove, something like this with teeth on it, works perfect for a job like this. So what you're gonna do is lefty loosey, righty tighty. This here adapter, we're gonna turn it to the left to break it loose. And now it's loose. We don't need to disassemble all of this to get this thing off of here. We can just spin the whole assembly. But if you wanna make it easier on yourself, here, I'll turn that back on like that. You can simply disassemble that little part on the bottom. Now we have all of this mess out of the way, make your life easier. So for whatever reason, this got stuck in there, so we're just gonna pop this out. This here is just a screen that's designed for filtering any sort of contaminant that might be in the water. It got stuck in there, that's gonna happen. What you wanna see when you have it disassembled is you want to see just bare thread. Now at this point, we're gonna want to clean the surface of those threads to make sure that we have a good seal when we tighten our new shower head on. You don't have to get too crazy here, just grab a rag or something like that, and just like that. We just want to get some of that gunk out of the threads and clean them up nice. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to assemble the first part of our shower head assembly. If you don't have one with a hand sprayer, you don't have to worry about this. Pretend this is the shower head, you'll just be screwing that right onto there and your shower head will be set. This comes with this tiny little gasket or this rubber washer with a screen in it. They want you to just take this thing, push it in there like that, and there's your seal. You essentially take and just screw this onto the shower head and it'll just be a one and done. Now, one thing that you want to be sure of is that you don't over tighten it, because if you over tighten it using this gasket, what it'll actually do is push the washer into the assembly here, which once it's done that, you lost your seal and it doesn't work. So just don't over tighten it. I'm gonna show you both scenarios. The first scenario using the washer, if your shower head does come with one, you're gonna take and just screw it right onto what's called the shower neck here. Just like that. So there are small grooves on here that are designed specifically for smooth jawed wrenches or adjustable wrenches so that they have in mind they don't want you to mess up that finish there. So we're gonna take our wrench and we're gonna slide it into those grooves. Once we've got it in place, you're just gonna snug it up in the slightest. Be sure not to go too crazy on this. Like I said, we don't wanna get it over tightened. Now, how do you know what's too tight? Sometimes it's a little hard to tell. That's what comes to just having experience with tightening objects. If you're handy, a lot of times you can tell when the tension becomes greater. In this case, if you've never done that, that'll be a little hard to tell. So what you can do is just snug it up a little bit, don't over tighten it. Worst case scenario, you can just give it another snug later on if it leaks. But let's say for instance, your shower head didn't come with a gasket or a rubber washer, if you will. And let's say you needed to get that thing to seal some other way. We got rid of the rubber washer. What we're gonna do is tighten this right onto the shower neck using Teflon tape. Now the Teflon tape is gonna actually act as the thread sealant because we don't have a washer to seal this to the shower neck. You're gonna wanna apply the Teflon tape in the direction that you'll be tightening it, which is gonna be right. Or clockwise, if that makes sense, if that makes better sense to you. So you see here, the tape actually grips against it and you turn against the threads and you're gonna be wrapping it around the threads. Now, here's a pro tip. When you're doing this, when you're applying Teflon tape to a shower neck, only do like 2.5 layers if you're using this thin stuff. And I'll explain to you why. So just take and tear it off there. Doesn't need to look pretty. The reason why you only use 2.5 to 3 wraps of Teflon tape on a shower head like this is because what'll happen when you go to attach your shower head, it'll clog the shower head up. I'm speaking from experience. This has happened before. A lot of times when you have low water pressure in your shower head, it's simply because there's too much Teflon tape applied. So you want to be sure that you apply just enough, which is going to be in that 2 wrap range. Next thing we're going to do is take the shower head, just like before, and go ahead and turn it on there. So, like I said before, we didn't have to make it pretty because guess what? We just covered all of it up. So at this point, that's pretty snug. So the next thing we're gonna do is assemble the shower head. Now, like I said before, if you opted out of a shower head with a sprayer, you don't have to worry about this step. This one is pretty simple, plastic shower head. It's a little bit on the lower end. A lot of times what you'll come across is you'll have these shower heads that have 2 different lengths on those nuts there. And you're thinking to yourself, which end attaches to what? As it turns out, some manufacturers will make these lengths the same to make it dummy proof for people like myself that don't wanna think about that. In this case, they want us to think a little bit. So they want us to figure out which one goes where. Now, the longer end, the one that has the nicer finish on it, is gonna attach to the hand sprayer. That's the general rule of thumb. That's the way that they design it. This is gonna be more aesthetically pleasing if you attach that there, okay? You won't see all of the grooves for a wrench where it should go. Like before, this has rubber washers in it. You don't apply Teflon tape to the sprayer itself ever. Just don't do it. There's no scenario that you'll ever need to get that good a seal on a sprayer like this. What that'll actually do is that'll clog up the filters at a point where you'll have to disassemble this. It's a pain in the butt to do that. If your attachment points, your adapters are made of plastic, you can actually risk splitting it from over tightening. So you wanna make sure that you don't put Teflon tape on the actual shower head like this. Just stick to using the washers if they're provided. So go ahead and attach it, super easy. Hand tight. I don't use a wrench for attaching these to the shower head. That's another pro tip. You don't need a tool for this part here. I actually recommend not using a tool because you don't want to over tighten it. It's very easy to over tighten. Now, the consequence of over tightening this will be because this shower head is plastic, I could actually break this, and we don't want that, obviously. So the next point that you're going to attach is the not so pretty looking end. This is going to attach right up to the shower adapter that you attached before. Now, as it turns out, these are plastic threads, which I didn't notice before. I wasn't paying close enough attention to. So knowing that these are plastic threads, and this adapter here is brass, we're screwing metal to plastic. We want to be sure that we don't cross thread that. So what is cross threading? Cross threading is if the threads are not lined up correctly, you could actually risk damaging them. And of course, if you damage them, you lose your water seal and you'll have a leaking issue. Not to mention if you cross thread, you can't reverse that, especially when it's plastic. Cross threading against another metal material, a little bit easier to correct, but when it comes to plastic, once you've cross threaded it, it's a one and done type of deal. You'll have to buy a whole new adapter, so be sure not to do that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our time when we screw this thing on here. This is not the type of job that you rush because those threads are plastic. Okay. Now I'm just gonna look at it from here to make sure that I didn't cross thread it because I'm capable of anything. Okay, we look good here. Now, same pro tip as before. This has grooves on it to be used with a wrench to tighten it. We know those threads are plastic. Do yourself a favor and don't tighten it with a wrench. Just use your hand. We'll test it, we'll run water through it. If it leaks, then we'll snug it up a little bit, but only if it leaks. If it doesn't leak, then you're fine. Leave it be. So, congratulations. At this point, you've assembled your entire shower sprayer, whatever you have here. And you can go ahead, set it in the holder like that, and you'll test it. So I'm gonna show you testing it. We're gonna see if we have any leaks. If we have some leaks, I'll point out why. I might have some leaks. You know, it's very possible that we have some leaks. If not, we've done a good job at this. When you're testing a shower head, obviously if you have one that doesn't have a sprayer hose, it's fixed in place, best to step out of the tub before testing it, unless you want an impromptu shower. In this case, this is super convenient. We have a hose, we can just take this thing off there like this, and just turn the water on and point it in a different direction. So that's what we're gonna do. So we have that. We'll turn the shower head sprayer on. Okay, so we have water flowing through it. Everything there looks good. We look good at the connection. Now let's run up and test everything else. Oh look, we have a leak here. So let's see where this is coming from. It's coming from the shower neck where we attached it before. The very first thing that we attached to the shower head is leaking. None of the other components are. I'm gonna take a couple guesses as to why this might be leaking. So first thing could be is I didn't apply enough Teflon tape on there. If I didn't apply enough Teflon tape, you know, it's gonna leak because I didn't create a good enough seal. The other thing could simply be that it's not tight enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna snug this up a little bit more, just a hair, and see if that fixes it. If it does not fix it, then what we're gonna be doing is taking it off and applying some more Teflon tape. You wanna make sure that you don't over tighten it. So if I snug this up and it still leaks, I'm not gonna tighten it anymore. I'm just gonna take it off and redo it. You don't have to disassemble all of this, just leave it attached. Take your wrench, get it back in those grooves, and just snug it up with hair. Just like that. So I'm gonna take it to about a half a turn. So that's half of one revolution. Now, if it leaks after that, I'm not gonna risk it. We'll just take it all back apart. Okay, so as it turns out, it's still leaking. Let's go ahead and fix that. It's actually really annoying because this happens so often. So just do that. Alrighty. As it turns out, I didn't use enough Teflon tape. I was being a little bit too cautious and I didn't apply enough. Of this whole project, this becomes the most annoying part, is trying to take the old Teflon tape off. You wanna make sure you get that stuff off so that you don't have excessive buildup on there. Okay, so a lot of times what I'll do, if I don't have anything else nearby, is I'll just peel it at the end that I started with and just unravel it. Now you can see there, Teflon tape tears pretty easily, so the next thing you're gonna do, I have a box cutter, utility knife, anything like that will work. And you're just gonna pick the threads to remove the Teflon. Really tedious, but it gets the job done. All right. Okay, there we go. Nice and clean. Doesn't need to be perfect, but you want to remove a bulk of it. All right, so back to the Teflon tape. I didn't plan for this to leak, by the way. So I'm actually fixing something that I put in incorrectly. So this is fun. So what I'm gonna do this time, before I only did 2 wraps, the Teflon tape is a little bit too thin, so this time around I'm gonna do 3. And by wraps, I mean revolutions. So you want to wrap it all the way around 1, 2, 3. So the next thing is attaching the shower head back to the neck. Now this part can get a little clunky because as you can see, I'm holding both ends and I'm trying to juggle all of these things at once, which is why generally you want to do this all disassembled. But we're gonna make it work. All right. All right, so that's hand tight. I'm gonna give it a little crank with my adjustable wrench. All right. So that there was about a full turn. If it leaks, we'll just tighten a little bit more. There we go, 3 was the magic number. So when you're testing this thing, super easy. Just run your fingers against all of the dry parts. It's the easiest way to confirm that you don't have a leak, because sometimes your eyes can deceive you. As it turns out, if you can't see water running, that doesn't always mean you don't have a leak. Congratulations if you don't have any leaks, or if you had some leaks and you fixed them. We have a new shower head and we are good to go. So if you find yourself having trouble with this job, please reach out to Eddie Helps, where you're gonna find an experienced plumber who can help you finish the job.